state their names for the record.
Yes, Your Honor. My name is Jaleesa Harris, and along with my co-counsel, Will Rogers,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
and Dylan Ballback,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, what's your name, please?
Dylan Ballback.
Thank you.
we represent the state in today's proceedings.
Great, thank you very much. Defense.
Afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Frank Rogers, and today with my co-counsel, Ms. Kate Bellani,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
and Ms. Alexandria Peaceman,
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
we represent the defendant, Ms. Ava Bagley.
Good afternoon. Thank you, counsel. Counsel, before we begin with opening statements, are there any administrative matters to take up before the court?
Yes, Your Honor. We have a few pretrial documents intended to the bench simply for Your Honor's reference throughout today's trial. There will be the Midlands Rules of Evidence, then jury instructions, special instructions, stipulations, order and motions in limine, the bill of particulars, and the indictment. May I approach opposing counsel and then send it to the bench?
Have you seen the array defense?
I have, Your Honor.
All right, just go ahead and bring them up to the bench, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's a long, convoluted walk up here, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. So just for the record, counsel for the state has handed me the Midland Rules of Evidence, jury instructions on entrapment, special instructions, stipulations, order on motions in limine regarding severability and admissibility of interrogations, bill of particulars, and an indictment. Am I missing anything?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, very well, thank you.
And at this time, we would like to invoke Rule 615, the constructive sequestration of all witnesses except for a party representative. Our party representative today will be Officer Mickey Keenan.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Defense, you have no objection to that constructive invocation, do you?
No, Your Honor. As indicated, our party representative will be Ms. Ava Bagley.
Thank you. All right, anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. Seeing as though it's the first time in your courtroom, do we have permission to move about freely about the will?
You do. You can move anywhere you like, just as long as you don't block the view of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
And ideally, not my view either, but most importantly, the view of the jury.
Yes, Your Honor. And would you like us to ask permission before we approach opposing counsel, the witness, or Your Honor?
Not opposing counsel, but the bench or the witness, yes, please.
And seeing as though this is a jury trial, would you like us to direct all testimony and statements to the jury or to the jury in Your Honor?
To the jury, please.
With that, we are ready to proceed to opening statements.
Great. Defense, add-in matters from you?
Yes, Your Honor. Just a couple additional documents. We have a notice of intent to offer character evidence, an order on motion to strike expert testimony, and a list of available case documents. The prosecution's seen all of these. Can I approach?
Does the state have any objections to those?
No objections, Your Honor.
Yeah, please bring them up here.
Here, notice of intent to offer character, order on motion to strike expert testimony, and a list of available case documents.
Great, so the defense has handed me 3 documents which the government does not oppose me having.
Your Honor, if I could just ask you to turn to that last document that I handed you, the list of available case documents.
Yes.
Now, because the exhibits, stipulations, and other documents in today's case refer to the exhibits listed here by those numbers on that list, opposing counsel and I have agreed that we'll enter these documents into evidence using those numbers.
In other words, they may be out of sequence.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's fine. I just ask counsel for both sides that when discussing evidence, and certainly when offering it, please refer to it by its number. And if it's pre-admission, it should be for identification. Post-admission, it's just the exhibit number. Make sense?
Of course, Your Honor.
Yes,
And
Your
with that, the defense is ready to go.
All right. Anything else from the state at all?
Honor. No, we are ready to proceed.
All right. The state may present its opening statement.
Yes, Your Honor. Dylan Ballback for the prosecution. May I please report? Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, she just kept going until she committed bribery. October 1st, 2014, the Midlands Gambling Commission made available a license for a new casino in Midlands. This began a 7.5-month process during which each candidate pitched a proposal to the commission in hopes that their bid would be selected. In the end, it was the defendant, Avery Bancroft, the owner of the currently existing Black Bear Casino in Midlands, who won that bid due to a vote made by the Gambling Commission head. As you're listening to the evidence in today's case, it may not be exactly what you would think. And that's because the defendant has already admitted to bribing the commission chair $200,000 in return for that commissioner's vote. So you may be asking yourselves, why are we here today? Because now the defendant is looking for someone to blame. That person has become Officer Mickey Keenan. The defendant is trying to claim that Officer Mickey Keenan took away her free will and right to choose. But as you'll hear today, the defendant had many opportunities to stop this bribe from happening. But she didn't. She chose not to. She chose to just keep going until she bribed a government official. Now, as a prosecution in today's case, we bear a burden of proof. We have to prove predisposition to you beyond a reasonable doubt. Put it simply, we must prove to you beyond any doubt based on common sense or reason that the defendant made this bribe of her own free will. Now, the defense in today's case also bears a burden of proof. Their burden is of entrapment. It must be proven to you by preponderance of the evidence. They must prove that it was more likely than not that the defendant was induced into committing bribery by Officer Mickey Keenan. Now, after opposing counsel gives their opening statements, you'll be hearing from that undercover cop, Mickey Keenan. And she'll be telling you about the investigation she did that led to her finding the corruption between the defendant and the commission chair. She'll tell you about all the meetings and conversations leading up to this bribery. And in these meetings, that will show you that predisposition. After Officer Keenan comes before you, you'll be hearing from Dr. F. Reese Warren. Dr. Warren did analysis on conversational strategies and best practices used in Officer Keenan's investigation. And what he'll tell you is that Officer Keenan did her job by the book, that she simply presented the defendant with an opportunity to show her true colors, and that it was the defendant who chose to just keep going. And finally, you'll hear from bellhop Devin Del Sesto. Ms. Del Sesto is a bellhop at the defendant's casino, the Black Bear in Midlands. And what she'll be telling you is about a conversation that she overheard between the defendant and the commission chair. And in this conversation, the defendant said, "If you're for sale, I'm willing to pay whatever it takes. I just want to get this sorted out." Members of the jury, you'll be hearing that this will show predisposition as well, because the defendant said this well before Officer Keenan ever began her investigation. Now, at the end of trial, my co-counsel, Jaleesa Harris, will come before you and ask that you find the defendant guilty. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Defense, your opening, please.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
This case isn't about whether she did it. It's about when, how, and why. Members of the jury, this is Ava Bancroft. Her family's from rural Virginia, but she's lived right here in Midlands her entire life. Her father moved here in the 60s and got a job shining shoes at a local hotel. He worked his way up from job to job and eventually used his savings to open up the Black Bear Resort.